I just got the new iPhone 17 Pro. The camera is amazing, but just because the camera is amazing, it doesn't mean that your photos will be. So I've got 5 tips in this video. They're going to help you get the most out of this amazing new camera. Hi, I'm Ken. I'm an amateur photographer learning photography right here along with you. I also run the online photography community that I created called The Big Photo Hunt, which is arguably the world's most friendly photography community. It's really friendly. So one of the things I see on the Big Photo Hunt is that 35% of our members are posting photos that were taken on a smartphone. And I think that number is only going to go up. But I'd argue that 9 out of 10 times I can tell which photos those are simply by looking at them. And it's not because of the quality of the images. These phones are amazing, whether it's an iPhone or any type of smartphone. Today's phones take such great images that the quality is almost always guaranteed. But I think it's because a lot of smartphone shooters just go and pop a photo off without thinking about the fundamentals that make their photos great. So today I'm going to share 5 tips with you that I guarantee if you implement them into your iPhone 17 Pro photography or whatever smartphone you're using, your photos are going to immediately go to the next level. Here we go. Tip number 1. Your phone has the rule of thirds grid built in. You should use it. For those of you that don't know what the rule of thirds is, imagine your frame broken up into a 3x3 grid, like a tic-tac-toe board. Instead of putting your subject dead center or anywhere in the frame for that matter, you'll line them up with one of the grid lines. So for example, of this photo that I took of Spidey at the beach, thank God he came, you'll notice that Spider-Man here is on the right side of that rule of thirds grid. He could have been put in the center, he could have been put in the bottom, anywhere, but our eyes are naturally drawn to this point of the frame, the right, the left, or these access points where the grids come together. So it makes your photo feel more balanced and dynamic. It's where your eyes will look, and it doesn't have to be a human subject. It could be an animal, a tree, a building. And the main subject of that photo, try to get it on one of these access lines. Here is how to turn on your rule of thirds grid on your iPhone 17 Pro. First, you're going to go to Settings, then Camera, and toggle the grid option to on. This will display the grid, and then you can compose your photos from there. Okay, tip number 2 is that the new iPhone 17 Pro allows you to adjust your image's depth of field. And you can do that simply by turning on portrait mode in your camera. If you're not familiar with depth of field, that's basically how blurry or sharp the background looks in a portrait photo. Using it can separate your subject from the background, and this will instantly give your photos a more professional and cinematic look. Turning your photo on in portrait mode is super easy. You're just going to open the camera app and switch to portrait mode. You can tap edit and you'll see an f-stop slider, and that allows you to drag it down if you want to blur your background, or to drag it up if you want the background to have more of the scene in focus. You'll benefit from playing with a wide range here to learn where you like it. But don't overdo it. Just like any editing or tricks and tips for photos, less is usually more. If you overdo it and you make the background too blurry, it will look artificial and kind of computer generated. At the same time, sometimes less blur helps you see more of the background, which gives you more context about the photo, where it is, what's happening. It helps you tell a story. There's always a fine line there. I like to get a little bit of blur in my background just to separate that subject or the portrait that I'm taking from the environment behind it. By the way, at this point in the video, I know I'm supposed to ask you to subscribe and click that notifications bell. I would obviously love for you to do that. You'll be able to see more great videos, and it really helps me grow this channel. But also, I want you to go check out the Big Photo Hunt. The link is in the description below. It's a great place for amateur photographers to grow. And as I've mentioned before, it is the world's most friendly photography community. It's really friendly. Tip number 3, and this is an important one. A lot of times we go somewhere, we're in the mountains, we're on a beach, and it's beautiful and it's moving us. And we take our phone out and we snap a photo, but that photo doesn't capture the actual beauty of the place or the scene that we're in. How many times have you heard someone say, "This was the most beautiful mountain view I've ever seen"? The photo doesn't do it justice. The reason it doesn't do it justice is because just because a scene or a landscape is beautiful, it's up to you as the photographer to communicate that beauty in the photo. I want you to think about that photo in terms of a foreground, a midground, and a background. And for this tip, again, we're going to use the rule of thirds. Start by looking for something interesting in the foreground, like rocks, flowers, or even a fence, and place that near the bottom of your frame. You can do that along that lower third line or below it in that section. Then the midground, that can be your main subject. So maybe it's a lake or a field, and then keep the background as, say, mountains or the sky. Using the rule of thirds grid, again, you can put the foreground in the bottom part. You can put the midground between the top and the bottom lower third lines, and then put the sky or the mountains, the background up towards the top. Sometimes when you're shooting these type of photos, it also helps to tilt your phone forward so that you can get more of that foreground in the image, and that instantly adds depth and dimension to your shot. All right, tip number 4 is super important because this is one of the most popular type of photos taken on iPhones or any smartphone. It's taking pictures of groups of people, whether it's a selfie or a photograph. That is one of the things that we use this camera the most for. Oh, my wife. Hello? If your spouse calls, always answer the phone. Anyway, back to tip number 4. When you're taking a photo of a group, whether it's a group of friends, family, or colleagues, you want to make sure that you have equal amount of space on the right and left side of the image. You want to make sure you put their heads, particularly their eyes, if you can, on that top rule of thirds line. And then leave a little space on the top. So if you have space on the sides, you want to leave a little space on the top so you can have some breathing room. And of course, shoot this in portrait mode to try to blur out some of that background, but not too much blur, because when you have more people in a shot, you do risk blurring some of the people in the photo if you have too much blur in that image. And tip number 5, this has got to be the easiest tip of all of them. Straighten your horizon lines. That's it. Straighten your horizon line. There is no greater giveaway of a photo taken by someone that just didn't pay attention versus a professional than a crooked or slanted horizon line. Now, sometimes, of course, you'll want to make a crooked horizon line to create chaos or feeling of unease. That's a creative choice, and that's for another video. And if you don't get a straight horizon line when you take the photo, you can go and do it in post. You can go back and edit it, and you can just rotate the image to get that horizon line straight. There's a ton more that you can learn. This is just a tiny fraction. But start by implementing these, and then step by step, you can pay more attention to the photos that you take on your smartphone. Oh, and one bonus tip, make sure that your images are in focus, which nowadays is really hard to make your iPhone images not be focused because the camera is so smart. But sometimes people will crop into an image to go really deep in and get an object or some kind of subject in the image and crop it out to make a photo, and then it's really distorted and blurry. It just instantly ruins your photo. And the only other tip I have now, tip number 6 or tip number 7, is to get out there and practice. And if you get some great photos on your new iPhone 17 Pro, go ahead, post them at the Big Photo Hunt. I know the community would love to see it. See you in the next video.